right, hi everyone. Welcome to Believe in Bills, this holiday edition. Happy holidays, everybody. Adam Bonini of WGRZ-TV, Sports Talk Live Buffalo. Sal Mayorana, the Rochester Democrat and Chronicle. Sal, how you doing? Are
I am.
you festive? Or are you in Grinch mode, as you've been known to be so many
Well,
times
look, I
through the years?
mean, unlike a lot of people in this country who are off this week, us in the media, we have to keep working. Football doesn't stop, so I'm fully ingrained in doing some of my work today. And the Bills are back to practice over there at One Bills Drive. So, yeah, there's a lot of things that still have to be done. Christmas is great, but we don't stop here in the NFL.
Well, we all know where this team has been and where it's yet to be. But last night it became official, clinching a seventh straight playoff berth. And I don't know. To me, that underscores, whether there's the crazed Super Bowl or bust mentality, or what, we all understand the desire and the expectation for that with this team and with this quarterback and all of those things. But it does, to me, in a broader sense, reflect what they have built here and the level of consistency we've seen through the years under Sean McDermott and Brandon Beane.
Look, it's a hell of an accomplishment. 8 out of 9 years in the McDermott era. It's now 7 in a row. Because the Chiefs are eliminated, the Bills are now the only team in the league that has 7 straight playoff appearances. And I know Bills fans don't give a shit about that, Adam. They've become, for whatever reason, spoiled. They seem to have forgotten the 17-year playoff drought when they were praying just to play one playoff game,
Right.
whether they got blown out or not. It was just great. All of a sudden, it's Super Bowl or bust, which I don't really understand. This team has been a model of consistency, and yeah, they haven't taken that final step. And we all know it's frustrating because the Bills have never won a Super Bowl. They lost 4 times back in the 90s. So they're one of, I don't know how many, maybe it's 10 teams now that have never won the Super Bowl, maybe a few less. I don't even know. So I get it, but come on, man. The NFL, it's tough. This is also, I think, 6 straight years of 11 wins, which has only been done, I think, 5 other times in NFL history. I mean, come on, get some perspective here. It's been a damn good team. And crazy enough, Adam, this is probably the least talented team they've had in this run of 6 straight years of, either winning the division or being close like they are this year. Let's get some perspective here. Stop with the fire McDermott chants in my Twitter feed all afternoon when they're losing. Just get a grip, people. God almighty.
Well, you know what? Like, for those of us who, whether from a fan perspective or in our case, the media, I was around in Syracuse at the time at WSTM, but my first game, as I think I've mentioned to you, in Orchard Park was 51-3 over the Raiders in the AFC Championship game, right? So I was around from a distance for the Super Bowl era. And then obviously coming to Buffalo in 1997 and covering those teams and the drought, right? To now have come back to this. I mean, I do think, and fans, longtime fans of the team, many have the same appreciation, I think, for the point you just made, kind of where they're at right now. Now, you do have an unbelievable quarterback, one of the best to ever play the position. I'm going to go ahead and say that right now. He's on a Hall of Fame trajectory. I mean, and the skill set that he brings has helped to define the new generation of quarterbacks. And so there is the expectation you have to do something with that and get to a Super Bowl and ultimately win it. And we know how greatness is measured and all of those things. And are they wasting? I would not say at all that they're wasting Allen's prime years, but they've needed to do a better job. You talked about the talent on this roster, and I think we both agree there needs to be, there's been some shortcomings and some errors in judgment, and what they've put together around him, they've fallen short in that area. We'll see how it translates in the postseason. But, I mean, I think that's the frustrating point, and that's a justified argument as far as I'm concerned. Right? And games like a 23-20 win over the Cleveland Browns, a team they should absolutely have kind of mopped up, maybe underscore that point as the flip side of the discussion we're having off the top here.
Yeah, I mean, look, we can talk about the Browns game. It was not their finer moment. Let's face it. I mean, we all thought that was going to be, over in the third quarter, start writing, and it turned out you're hanging on for dear life at the end of the game. because the Bills just didn't play well in any phase. I mean, they didn't even play good on special teams. Badgley missing an extra point and Davis botched a kickoff. Luckily, we recovered it. The whole team was just, I don't know what. I mean, I know that there's no Sean McDermott team in existence that ever takes an opponent lightly, but they just were flat. They were flat in that game, which was a little strange because half the stadium, and I don't usually say this, Adam, because I think it's a lot of BS sometimes. Oh yeah, it's half Bills fans. This legitimately was about half Bills fans at this game. So there was, they should have been fired up to play this game with that kind of support behind them on the road. And it just, after the great start they had, they scored in the first 3 possessions. Man, the Browns just really locked them down on defense. And one of the issues too that I haven't even really written about this, but as I think back on it and rewatch the game, it's crazy to me that Joe Brady concocted this game plan where he literally took half the field away from Josh Allen because they were so afraid of Myles Garrett. They did nothing. Almost every run, I would say 90% of the run plays went to the right away from Garrett. I think it's somebody said that he threw 3 passes to the left side. So, rather than facing Garrett coming from that side, they just totally ran away from him. And I think that kind of played into the Browns' favor. It helped the Browns. You're only defending really half the field at that point. That was one of the reasons why they adjusted very well. They realized, forget this side. The Bills aren't even going there. Let's concentrate over here. And they made everything very difficult for the Buffalo offense. So that was a little bit frustrating. And then on defense, look, the usual shitty start, just ridiculous that Shadur Sanders could mow down the field as quickly as he did on the first 2 possessions. Because if you remember the second possession, they got a very fortunate bounce. The pass bounced off the running back shoulder pads and popped into, I think it was Poyer on that one. They were about to give up 2 scores on the first 2 drives to the Cleveland Browns, who are one of the worst offensive teams in football. So the whole day was just one of those, man, I even wrote this, survive in advance, like the NCAA tournament. It's like one of those first weekend games where the higher seed just has to find a way to muddle through and just move on to when you're going to be playing better teams. And that's exactly what happened in that game Sunday.
And you're going to have that, right, during the course of NFL seasons. All teams are. That's just the nature of the league and the nature of the beast. And Deion Dawkins, who's headed back to the Pro Bowl, by the way, we should mention, as well, along with James Cook and Josh Allen. But Dawkins mentioned, the NFL doesn't work like that, where the superior team always, dominates in a situation like this. But at this point, Sal, and when you combine it with the other comebacks and kind of what's been going on and what they've relied upon to win these games, now 4 in a row, at this time of the year, right? To me, that's where the concern seeps in about what really are they with the playoffs now just a couple of regular season games away.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. We're not really sure, especially because, I mean, really, Adam, do you trust this defense against a good offensive team? I still can't find my way to trusting this Bills defense in a playoff game. And we've seen this for years and years. It has always been, except for the one game against the Bengals, it's always been the defense that has failed them in the elimination game for Buffalo. So I don't trust the defense at all. And right now, do you really trust this offense if a team can find a way to neutralize James Cook? And that being said, nobody really has been able to do it. He's been great all year. But if there is going to be a team down the road that finds a way to really contain him, do we have any faith that the Bills can get it done in the passing game? We trust Josh Allen to be a superstar, but he's just got no help this year. And I think we've been talking about this for a week. It's redundant by now. People are probably sick and tired of listening to us rail about this, but it's a problem every single week against the Browns. Once again, they're playing without their best cornerback, Denzel Ward, okay? They should have been able to do whatever they wanted in the passing game. Instead, Khalil Shakir catches 4 balls for 34, big whoop. Everybody else who played receiver, 2 catches for 23 yards. I mean, what are we doing here? I mean, what I said to somebody, I cannot believe this Bills team is 11-4, the way they have played in the passing game and then really on defense for much of the year. It's kind of a minor miracle that they're 11-4 right now, but here they are. So good for them. Maybe that's a good sign moving forward. But man, I'm having a tough time, Adam, trusting this team. I can't get there yet.
Yeah. I mean, you just gave the receiver numbers. They haven't been able to, even with what they've had and how they're constituted. And I understand utilizing the backs and the tight ends and all of those things, but at the receiver position, the fact they haven't been able to find a combination that is really productive, right, at this point. I mean, that speaks when I talked about shortcomings and errors in judgment as to how this team is put together and what they've put around Josh Allen. And that goes right to Brandon Beane, like we've talked about. That's the point right there. I mean, we should not be having this discussion with this quarterback and this team at this point in everyone's tenure involved in this whole thing.
No, and it's been, I would say the two failures for Brandon Beane so far in this recent part of his tenure, the complete inability to generate a pass rush. They've thrown so many resources, either, with high draft picks or free agent signings. And yeah, Rousseau had a great game last week. About time, right? I mean, it's about time that he had a game. We've been waiting for that kind of game for years from Greg Rousseau. So I think that's an area where whatever their talent evaluation is coming up with on defensive linemen, particularly edge rushers, I think they failed there. Bosa's been a good signing, but they have had a trouble in that area. And then wide receiver. I mean, since Diggs left, I mean, give him credit for making the trade to get Diggs. And Gabe Davis is a 4th round pick for a couple of years. That looked really good. He was a producer for the Bills. You can't argue that. He was a good player, kind of went sour at the end. But since those two guys left, he has failed. Brandon Beane has failed epically at rebuilding that wide receiver room. Taking swings at Curtis Samuel, a complete bust. Josh Palmer, it's only year 1, but man, is there anything to suggest that guy is going to get it together either this year or in the next 2 years with that contract? No, I don't see it. I mean, look at the guy, Keon Coleman, a total whiff as a 2nd round pick. He has not done a good job. And again, it's not all on Beane. I mean, they've got scouts out at every one of these damn colleges trying to find players that they should be picking, and they're just not doing a good job of it. Those are the two areas that I think he has really failed this team. And those are the two areas that are probably going to bite him in the ass in the postseason. Because you got to be able to, right? You got to be able to rush the passer, and you got to be able to catch the ball. And they don't have the guys to do it.
All right, a couple of injuries we want to take note of here as time permits. Josh Allen, day-to-day with the foot injury he suffered just before halftime, and Jordan Poyer with a hamstring.
Yeah.
Allen, McDermott had expressed that he wasn't really concerned about his game status, that, it's sore and he was able to come back in, x-rays were negative, and finish the game. Poyer with a hamstring against this team, that's a red flag, isn't it?
Big problem. Absolutely a big problem. I in fact, I was doing my game preview, and one of my key players to watch for the Bills is now Cole Bishop, because Cole Bishop, there's a good chance, because I think they're going to, Jordan Poyer with a hamstring at his age, you want him for the playoffs. So I would be very surprised if he plays this week or against the Jets. I mean, I don't know, right? I don't know for sure, but I'd be surprised. Cole Bishop is going to have to hold the fort down with maybe Jordan Hancock or Cam Lewis next to him back there against a team that has A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and Dallas Goedert. That's a problem this week. So that's definitely an injury to watch, and I don't think it's going to be a good thing for the Bills. The Josh Allen injury, Josh is never going to say, he's never going to tell us that any injury for him is a problem. But I think you could make the case, if you watched the game, that after he suffered the foot injury, I think it did impact him a little bit in the second half. I don't think he was the same, player. And there were, there was some big drops. A couple of those drops. He missed Shakir wide open, which would have been a big play. That was on him. The Dawson Knox drop was not on him. But I think the injury impacted him a little bit. So we'll see moving forward. I fully expect him to play. I mean, McDermott even said that on Monday, that he thinks he'll be okay. Now, how much it's going to be bothering him, we don't know. We know Josh Allen's a tank. Nothing usually does bother him. So as long as it's not the throwing arm or the shoulder, he'll push through, and I think he'll be okay. But it is definitely something to watch. I mean, if he tweaks it again and that takes away some of his mobility, that's something you might want to be worried about. But I think for now, they're okay with Josh Allen.
FanDuel, the presenting sponsor for Believe in Bills and others on the Believe network of podcasts. Super Bowl odds. Bills now third behind the Rams and Seahawks at plus 850. Right behind them in fourth, the Philadelphia Eagles at plus 900. Eagles at 10-5, just clinched a second straight title in the NFC East. And they dropped, I think it was what, 3 in a row, Sal? Won a couple of straight now, and they're kind of rounding into form and getting healthier. Health has been a big issue for them, and that's starting to come back and into fruition for them as they approach this particular game.
Yeah, the Bills are going to get a look at probably Jalen Carter coming back at defensive tackle, and then Lane Johnson, their great right tackle on offense. I think they're both scheduled to play, and that makes sense because they've both been out, I want to say 3 or 4 games each. And, the Eagles they've clinched their division, but they need to start getting those guys back on the field, especially in a game like this against a good team. You want to see, you want to make sure they're ready to go for the postseason. And then if they get through and they're fine, then maybe you can relax a little bit in that season finale against the terrible Commanders who they could beat without those guys. So I think they're both going to play, and that's going to be tough for the Bills. Those are 2 great players they're going to have to face. So, yeah, I think that's going to be it'll be fun to watch, though. This Bills offensive line, Adam, has been so good this year, and they're going to get a look at a defensive tackle tandem in Jordan Davis and probably Jalen Carter. That's maybe the best tandem in the middle in the league. That's going to be it'll be interesting to see how they can run James Cook. A lot of his stuff goes between the tackles, and that way he slithers through the line. There'll be a little bit less room to slither this week for James Cook with those guys in there.
Yeah, and I think going against this particular defense, having the balance and the effectiveness of that running game is going to be key for Buffalo. So what you just touched upon is it's a point where this game could hinge on it, quite frankly.
Because you look at their secondary, Adam. Cooper DeJean is a terrific slot corner. Quinyon Mitchell is one of the best outside corners in the league, and they're going to be going against these Bills receivers. You could pretty much expect they're going to play man-to-man all day, and just the Bills will have nowhere to go. Last week, Cleveland played man-to-man defense, I think more than any team in the league did, maybe all season. That was a clear indictment that they basically said to the Bills, we know your guys can't beat us, so why would we play zone and give you soft areas that you can attack? Beat us man-to-man. Bills couldn't do it. The receivers caught, again, outside Shakir, 2 balls all day. Now, granted, he only threw 19 passes. Bills only had the ball for 24 minutes in that game, but still, against this Eagles defense, I would expect they're probably going to play heavy man-to-man and just dare the Bills to pound James Cook as much as they can, and then good luck with that. We'll see. So, yeah, it's a problem for the Bills this week.
Last point here, and we're going to have John Clark from NBC in Philadelphia, longtime veteran guy, covers the Eagles, on later this week on the backside of the holiday as we get ready for this game, and he'll be able to give some insight into what's going on more specifically with Philadelphia. But we've talked about the Bills' shortcomings and areas of concern. Obviously, look at the Browns, man, 160 yards rushing in that game, right? The run defense has been an issue, but what do you do with Saquon Barkley in this game?
I know. I will say this: the Bills last week, only 80 of that was by the Browns running back. So they actually did a better job against the traditional running backs. Now, the caveat to that, Adam, is that their best player, Quinton Judkins, went out in the second quarter. So they were running guys I've never heard of. I'm not sure Browns fans have ever heard of the 2 running backs they were using in that game. But at least on the running back plays, the Bills were a little bit better. Sanders got him a couple. I think he had 49 yards on scrambles. They ran a couple reverses that did okay. So the Bills were a little bit better, but as you just said, this is Saquon Barkley coming to town. And Barkley's not even having a great year. He just went over 1,000 yards last week. He had 2,000 yards last year. So he has definitely been less effective. But against this Bills defense, I would guess Saquon's salivating down in Philly. He can't wait to get after this team this week.
All right, so that's going to do it. 4:25 kickoff. A second to last regular season home game at Highmark Stadium. Again, the Bills clinching a playoff berth officially for the 7th straight year. Philadelphia Eagles Sunday, and then the New York Jets to close things out in the regular season. We hope you have a great holiday, everyone, yes. And we will talk to you with John Clark from NBC in Philadelphia later this week. That'll be pushed out on Friday. So thanks for being with us here on Believe in Bills, presented by FanDuel.